Good morning, my name is Hemi Newman. I'm representing the Little Black Lives Matter 2 campaign. Actually, it's a global outcry about the racism and politics here in Australia. We have, it stems back to the 1901 White Australia policy, which is the ultimate in racism. The policy itself said that right throughout Australia that Aboriginals were nothing, that the white supremacy ruled, that it was institutionalised, went through all government departments, whatever it was, it went through all businesses, it went through all education facilities, right throughout the whole of white Australia to show white supremacy as the most racist legislation in human history. Australia is the most racist nation on the planet. We will prove it beyond all doubt. And the racism in politics is absolutely horrendous. We have 2,600 little children under the age of 12 have been on the streets now for 3 years. This is the third year, the third winter, where they're sleeping rough or couch surfing. They're under the age of 12. That is a mass population, 2,600. Now, if these were white children, 3 years ago when the stats came out, they would have taken the children off the streets, for sure. Just like Telethon raises lots of money, 40-50 million a year for children, but they're white children. But these are Aboriginal children. Because they're Aboriginal children, the 60 billionaires, millionaires, CEOs, CFOs, MDs and business owners and all the people that we talk to show them that we have a crisis here with so many children left on the streets for so many years, which is a racism issue, because as we say, if it was white children, they would have been taken off the streets. This is why we've asked everyone to have a look at the first video of ours with Damien, the homeless expert, speaking on homelessness in Australia. You're getting it from, in Perth, you're getting it from the #1 expert, right? And get the facts first, and then have a look at what we're doing to get these 2,600 little children under the age of 12 off the streets. They've been pack raped by African gangsters. We've got white Australian paedophile truck drivers giving them children petrol to sniff in exchange for sex. We have 3,400 registered convicted paedophiles here in Perth. That is 52 paedophiles per suburb or 1 paedophile per street. Right, this is the paedophile capital of the world. They're protected by the government, and you can't find out where they live. They stop you from finding that out as well, so you don't know that they're in your street or watching your children. So it's a major crisis. Not only is Perth the paedophile capital of the world with the highest number of paedophiles per capita, it is also the child sex crime capital of the world, and we're going to prove that with the videos we're bringing out exposing the rape of children under the age of 12, Aboriginal children. We're going to be exposing how these white Australian truck drivers are giving these children petrol to sniff in exchange for sex. Now, how low can you go? We have a big beef with the white Australians. The institutionalised racism's been happening for 120 years, stems back to the 1901 White Australia policy. It was a supremacy policy of white people ruling Australia, claiming it was theirs. And then they brought out the Fauna and Flora Act that legislated that Aboriginals were flora, less than an animal or plant. That's what they were delegated or put out as. And children, white children, were taught generation after generations called intergenerational racism, where the children were taught to hate Aboriginals, to despise Aboriginals, that they were savages, and that gave them the right, the white people, the right to commit the genocides that they did, to let off atomic bombs in their backyard without notifying them that an atomic bomb was being let off. It gave them the rights to fleece them of their land, their minerals, their petroleum, and now their water rights. They've had the lot taken from them. They've had their language taken away with the stolen generation. They've had, the language taken away, and then they had their children taken away with the stolen generation. It's still happening today through DCP, and we'll prove all this, and also through the seizure of the 9 families of children the year before last. So we're going to close it on all that as well. So we have a lot of followers on social media. Dion Joseph, he has on Twitter, LinkedIn, within a 2-kilometre radius, 770,000 people following him through those networks within the 2-kilometre range. That's just here in Western Australia. We had some Maoris who were homeless on the streets. I interviewed them because I'm famous. Interviewed them. I said, download it onto your digital device, upload it to your own Facebook page and watch what happens. Within 3 days he had 455,000 followers on social media, Facebook, following his story on the streets because of what we're doing. So we have all these followers out there wanting to know what our next step is, and that's up to me. So my name is Hemi Newman. I've used 40 different names over the last 47 years to hide my identity as the original Mick Jagger from Foxton, New Zealand's most notorious gangster from the 1970s, 1973. I'm also the chief spokesman for the Sustainable Nation Building Industry Steering Group. I'm also a member of the steering group. We specialise in the development of safe nations, or micronation based safe nations, zero emission economies, and the rapid mass production of high-tech, upmarket, sustainable villages in paradise for the repatriation of Indigenous peoples back into their beautiful, remote and isolated, pristine wilderness areas. We build the infrastructure we build. We train them in social sustainability and social, cultural, ecological, economic, and also in the 5 zeros sustainability, which is zero emissions, zero debt, zero poverty, zero waste and zero crime, which we can get through our link break technology, which we can permanently eliminate all types of severe and significant mental health disorders. This is an energy product. It works through the energy frequencies and vibrations. It breaks the link between our people and the evil spirit realm out there that is controlling their minds through energy frequencies and vibrations that go in through the chakras, triggers off the memory systems in the brain and the subconscious computer, and then that triggers off the memory system, body functions, the emotions, habit patterns, the whole lot, and the emotion, and it creates ongoing problems. So we have the key technologies for permanently eliminating all forms of severe and significant mental health disorders, from bipolar disorder, ADHD, paranoid schizophrenia. All those can now be fixed through the link break technology. The second technology that we have that's an energy technology. The second technology that we have is the Happy Training Curriculum for our children, and it's only available for children at the moment. So the Happy Training Curriculum was developed for music superstars, training and developing our own, because I'm also the executive sponsor for the 2020 Live Aid VR virtual reality music benefit concerts to raise $108 billion from 30 concerts, 36 concerts, 6 concerts a weekend for 6 weekends continuous, and that is to raise the money to rescue children from child sex crimes. And that's actually what we're doing with the Little Black Lives Matter to global outcry. So we're promoting it out there now. It's going to be going and creating a massive global outcry, and with the underworld coming in behind us to make sure it is a global outcry. So as I say, we've tried every other way to raise venture capital to get these children off the streets, but after 60 millionaires, even superstars refuse to help. We've had Maoris make derogatory comments like, you know, these abbas need to sort their own crap out, you know. We don't need this sort of stuff. That's not nice. You do not understand that the Noongar people had their language taken away, and also their children. How do you build a nation when they take your children away? Today we have their future generations of children are on the streets, 2,600. The bulk of them are Aboriginal from the 50 different clans. The moment we mentioned that the children were Aboriginal, it was a cloud. A veil came down over the faces of all the 60 greedy rich we approached. No one could give a stuff. That was not the case. That was also the case with, and talking to a lot of the Noongar people couldn't give a stuff. And then the Maoris, most disgusting of all, couldn't give a stuff either. The crowdfunding has been up on the social media now for 8 months. Only 3 people have contributed, 2 people on disabilities, and Jerry Georgardis from the Human Rights Alliance. So here we have a catastrophe of so many children on the streets, and one died last year. Most of deaths, cause of death, according to the coroner's report, was hypothermia. We're concerned at the moment because it is winter now. We need to get the children off the streets, so we're having to go offshore to raise the funding because people in Australia don't seem to care. And it goes a lot back to that White Australia policy and then to the 4 on 4 Act. Racism. Racism is right here in Australia. We have ignoramuses that say, no, it's not. You just go and walk around the city with an Aboriginal and watch how he gets treated. Yesterday I caught a bus. It was a married bus driver, and she said to me, you know, bro, I pulled up, there were these 20 white Australians and a young Aboriginal girl, about 16 with a baby. So I stopped, I put the ramp down for her to come on the bus. The 20 Aussies all pushed in front of her. She got on last. These are the things that people don't see. These are the things that you see when you're working at the coalface of the community, which is what we're doing. We see the racism, you know, and this Mary I talked to this morning, she didn't believe me when I said to her, Dion Joseph, leader of the Noongar Nation, bought some glasses and the little screw fell out, and I said, I'll just take it over there. That a Thomas shop put it free one, cost nothing, man. He says, for you that's okay, not for us, I'm Aboriginal. I said, what do you mean? They can make a scene. It's not worth my while. They'll make a scene. No, they'll give me all sorts of excuses not to give me one. That's how it works, bro. Now I've watched Dion, I've been with Dion, 3 managers of 3 different organisations. I threatened to bash up because I used to be a gangster. I was like, I can really fight. I threatened to bash them up because of the way they treated them. You know, what we're sharing with you with the Live Aid benefit concerts, right, they're VR, they're the state of the art concerts. I'm pulling down on it. And the manager of the bank says, you can't do that. Why? Because he's Aboriginal. And this is the sort of sarcasm, this is the sort of abuse, cynicism, pessimism, name whatever you like. This is how our Aboriginal people from the Noongar Nation are treated. And what they do is they just put their head down and walk out, or, you know, they just say nothing. Or otherwise they get arrested and slammed in jail for saying something. It's that bad, and we have these ignoramuses that say, oh, that's not true. But see, these ignoramuses have never worked at the coalface of the community here in Perth to find out the level of racism both in politics, in the police, which is brutal, and among the white society of Australia. People say I've got a big chip on the back. No, I run down anybody who does the wrong thing. I don't really give a stuff. That's the key to being world #1 Indigenous Sustainability Specialist, is that you can't pay me off. You can't silence me if there's something wrong. I'm not going to sit here and take it. And Dion's the same. So, as I say, we have a lot of followers. They want to follow us. They're all waiting for my next step. Now, what I want you all to realise is that we have a vision, and the vision is driven by our Sustainable Nation Building Industry Steering Group. The vision is to create a happy future for our children and for our children's children from all walks of life, without prejudice. Hear that? Without prejudice. In other words, without any form of racism, whether they are Catholic, Buddhist, Jehovah's Witness, whether they're living in a slum, whether they're living in a palace, rich or poor, or with our neighbour. We don't care where the children come from. They're all welcome to live in our safe nations, micronation based safe nations, zero emission economies, which we cover in our videos on the Little Black Lives Matter YouTube channel. Actually, Little Black Lives Matter 2 Hemi Newman. Put my name in, otherwise you won't get it. That's it. So we have a translation website being built. It took 3 years to build. We actually built it for another project, for the Live Aid VR music benefit concerts. We're live streaming with the state-of-the-art, high resolution, fully immersive VR, AR technologies and hologram technologies to boom the superstars in on the main stage for exposure to 2 billion people. watching live. 6 concerts per weekend for 6 weekends with the same crowd, because we're building our own wilderness retreat, sustainable city, to house all our fans in. So, and the fans, by the way, are young girls, 12 to 16. I was telling this morning, oh, why aren't you bringing the boys in? Yeah, well, bring the boys. The first thing they're going to do, carve their names on the trees. They chuck cigarettes and syringes and all sorts of things on the ground. They have sex with the girls and chuck condoms on the ground. But this is a sacred site that we're doing this on. This is significantly sensitive Indigenous land. We don't want those people on the lands. But with the young girls, they're like the best fans you can ever have. Yeah, they don't have the egos and the macho and all this. They're beautiful. They like to sing and dance and have fun, laugh and giggle. And this is why we choose the young girls versus any of the older generations, and they're less hassle, less problem. So now look, we have 2 types of videos. We have the clean version, and then we have the unclean version, because that's targeted at the hip hop music culture, right? According to Spotify, the year before last, 7 out of 10 of the most listened to albums on Spotify were hip hop gangster rap. Last year, that 70%, it went up to 83%. This is the target market audience we're after. They're the young audience. We're not interested in anyone over the age of 20 or even over the age of 16. Our objective is to put out there what we call clean, happy hip hop music and dance civilization. It's not a culture. Because the moment we say it's hip hop culture, you're talking hoodies, you're talking robberies, you're talking murders, you're talking drug addiction and all that sort of rubbish. No, this is a new civilization. We develop the clean, happy hip hop music and dance civilization for implementation into our high-tech upmarket sustainable villages in paradise, and also for our high-tech upmarket sustainable cities in paradise as one of the main cultures. Because a lot of the young people now, as I say, if 83% are listening to hip-hop gangster rap, well, there's got to be something in it, right? But we've cleaned it up. No swearing, no gangster rap, no drug use or any of this, rebellious sort of stuff. Any of that, you're out. Sorry, you're no good to us. And the only people we're interested in working with or talking to over the age of 16 or 20 are young people that are heroes. They're heroes because they've gotten out of the low-income areas. They've got a job. They've got a career. They've progressed. They've become decent citizens. They're our heroes, right? Not these users of meth. Not these rappers with their foul mouths and disgusting lifestyles, right? So first of all, we're looking for the heroes. Then we're looking for the role models of decency, that they have cleaned their lives up. They are role models. They are decent. They are good role models for the children to follow. But these are all rappers, because they can, with us Mary rappers, we start off with the beat song, and we'll start off singing a popular R&B song from the 80s, and then we'll swing into freestyle rap, and we'll start rapping about what's ever happening in our lives, about you, mention your name, crack a joke, whatever, and perfect rhymes. And then we swing from there into beatboxing, and from the beatboxing we'll swing into reggae, slow down, reggae, and then back to R&B. And then we'll pass on to the next one. But anyways, breakdancing, whatever. It's Mary. Hip hop, clean, happy hip hop music and dance civilization. It's a civilization. It's not a culture with hoodies and gangsterism, foul, nasty nannies. No way. This is for implementation into our sustainable cities in paradise, sustainable villages in paradise. Also, so they need to be a hero. They need to be a role model of decency, and they need to be a champion of human performance. So we train them in the leadership skills. We train them in the advanced human development technologies, on how to be very, very productive, very, very efficient in all areas of their lives. And they become the role models of our children for tomorrow, because our target market are 6 to 16 year olds. If you're over 16, forget about it. We're not interested in talking to you. We're not interested in teaching you. Not interested in training you. We're only interested in training the young ones under the age of 16, because they are teachable. They are teachable. They have time to learn. They're not into drug use. Most of them. addictions to smoking, to drugs, addictions to alcohol, addictions to pornography, addictions to gaming, gambling, all these problem areas that we get with the older generations. We don't want to know better, we don't want to deal with it. 80% of the inhabitants for all of our sustainable villages and sustainable cities in paradise all around the world, 80% at all times must be under the age of 16. We employ at 16, which is following the systems of the Royal New Zealand Air Force that I served 10 years in. 80% of the personnel were age 16 when they were employed because they're mobile, versatile. We can give them 2 hours notice, put them on a plane and fly them anywhere in the world on a mission. Whereas if they're married with a family, you've got complications, right? So young, versatile, age 16, and that's our target market. Also, according to Mark Zuckerberg, the bulk of the Facebook users are from 3 regions of the world, or continents: Africa, India and South America. So why would we bother focusing on Australia, New Zealand, America, when we can go to India and get 100 times more followers, and go to Africa and get 100 times more, a million times more than what we could get in these other nations. So that's our focus, is in those 3 continents. All right. So a lot of you are going to have attitudes and you're going to say, well, we don't like this, we think that we should be involved. Well, I'm sorry, but you're not involved. We are here. Through our music and our dance, through the nice outfits that we supply to the children, and our charities will supply them to the children for free, because putting the clothing, the nice clothing on the children they feel good in, it increases their self-esteem straight away without even doing anything. So I know this because I used to live in the slum for 12 years, and I know what having the nice clothing, to be able to walk around the corner in beautiful clothing with all the cool gears and the chicks chasing you and the ghetto blast and the music. So this is the thing, the clothing, this first thing we do. We also put these children into school straight away and use the VR, AR technologies, and also the VR motion machines if they're suicidal or depressed. It snaps them out of the suicidal or depressed state. So we're doing this, what we call engineered migration initiative, to get these 2,600 little children under the age of 12 off the streets, straight up into our wilderness retreat and into big marquees. You'll see it on the videos there, the one we talked to Madonna. There's 2 of them. We're going to rescue the children from child sex crimes, and that's why we have to get these 2,600 children off the street, not because of the homelessness problem, but because of the child sex crimes that have been perpetrated against them as they become vulnerable on the streets. We'll send you attachment also to check out what's happening in America on this aspect, and also throughout Africa and different places around the world on the child sex crimes, which is why we're running the VR music concerts, the Live Aid concerts. So, as I say, we have Wall Street, Silicon Valley technology giants have asked me to put together a video, which I've done that video. It's also on there. It's a 2-hour video, and it's called The Ultimate Solution to Child Sex Crimes. So if you check that one out, you're going to get stressed in the first 35 minutes. You have a choice. You know, a married woman said to me today, I'm not going to listen to any negative garbage. I just switch it off. I'm not interested. I said, well, that's good. That's why it's designed that way, for people like you to say, I won't listen to this negative garbage. You see, what these people don't realise, you need to hear and become teachable if you want to learn how to survive the future, right? There is some bad crises coming. If you want to turn a blind eye, you're going to get caught. But if you want to listen to us, you can sell up whatever assets you need. You can protect your money by getting it out of the banks and putting it into E-Trade, ITEX, or into cryptocurrencies. But when they are lock off like this and live in an airy fairy world of, you know, I live a happy life only into high energy stuff, well, you're a loser, and you can just switch off like that, or you can take the time. And that video, by the way, was designed for the Wall Street bankers and Silicon Valley technology companies who are looking at investing $400 billion upfront payment for 10 sustainable cities in paradise. Do you know what 400 billion is? That's more than one Australia makes, right, in a year. 400 billion at the mining here in Australia. They don't make anywhere near that. So this is the sort of money we're talking about. So the level of that video production wasn't done giants and also the Wall Street bankers about what the future holds. And then once they identify the threats to humanity, they can see the solutions that we provide, because through our sustainable villages and sustainable cities in paradise, it is the only economically viable solution to the coronavirus, which is to move mass populations out of the cities into the beautiful, remote and isolated wilderness regions of the frontier and emerging markets, into what we call micronations that we purchase, big chunks of their nation, wilderness areas, and we own it with the outright sovereignty, ultimate sovereignty belonging to us, which means there's no laws and regulations. It's whatever we say goes. So there's no corruption, there's no corrupt police, there's no corrupt politicians, there's no corrupt judiciary, there's no or the legislative or corrupt government officials. We wipe the whole lot out by having the micronation. And there's no tax. So there'll be no tax that attracts all the big corporates in. No tax, sweet. There you go. So that's what we're doing there. Now, and people have attitudes, and at the end of the day, we say, well, you know, when people get over the age of 16, they start getting into all these addictions and stuff, and these obsessions. And we got to understand it's the time period we live in. Now, we use 8 predictive systems to guide us in the future. And like Harry Dent, word number 1, stock market analyst. He edited our 7-page document on sustainable cities, the final edit for us, and he got it in his handwriting. So Harry Dent on what's happening in the future in the way of stock markets, and then we have Jim Ricketts, who also covers those sort of areas, but Jim also warned on the IMF, how they're going to shut down all the banks and do the reset, but I won't go into that. Then we also have the Feng Shui calendar, but you know, the best one of the lot for predicting the future, it's right here. It's got that, the Holy Book, Bible. And what it says in 2 Timothy 3, 1-5, and by the way, we're non-religious, non-political, but we do accept the writings of the Bible. It says here, but know this, that in the last days, critical times hard to deal with will be here. For men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, haughty, just like these Aussies, blasphemous, disobedient to parents. And this is happening out there, the children are disobedient. Unthankful, disloyal, having no natural affection. That's why all those white people walk past that little Aboriginal child and he froze to death. They didn't pick him up. Not open to any agreement. And this is what happens in trying to deal with the older generation. They're not open to any agreement. Just go bash your head against the wall. That's the best thing you can do. Slanderers, without self-control. They've got no self-control. Right? Fierce, without love of goodness. Betrayers, headstrong, puffed up with pride. Lovers of pleasures rather than lovers of God. But you see, we're non-religious, we're non-political, we don't really give a stuff about religion and politics because they divide the community. But those are the only laws we have. Non-religious, non-political, common culture based on decency. That's all you need. If everyone's decent, you don't have white fascists, you don't have nasty people, you don't have racists, right? You don't have disobedient children because you bring them up the right way, because everything's decent, right? It prevents a lot of problems happening in the community. So this is where we're coming. You've got to remember that our core business is the rapid mass production of sustainable villages and sustainable cities in paradise, which aligns to our beautiful, wonderful vision to create a happy future for our children and for our children's children from all walks of life. And right around me I'm looking at children everywhere, and they're all welcome to come to us, do our happy training, a lifetime cradle to grave employment and habitation contract. These are debt-free, zero-emission green infrastructure projects. Debt-free because we've paid $400 billion up front for 10 cities, which would need a lot of money spent in other areas. It's all debt-free. So we don't have to change anything. What if we make this much money? We stay free. We don't give a stuff. Everything's free anyway. Water's free. It's on our lands. We use bio-intensive agriculture, which is permaculture, organic gardening, animal husbandry, right? and aquaculture, because the oceans are ruined and polluted, and so the rivers in a lot of countries. So aquaculture is the way to go. It's still new, it hasn't been properly defined yet, but they're getting there. So sustainable food production, the only thing we really need, two basic things we need once we have the micronation. We pick the micronations that have nutrient-rich soils and abundant water. If you've got those two, it's fully sustainable. You can grow anything there. Like my bro Dion Joseph said, oh, what about for Yamaji country? There's no plants, my bro. I said, have you got nutrient-rich soil? Yes. Have you got abundant water on the ground? Yes. There you go. Plants you need to plant, bro. Make sure they're indigenous, native to Australia. They'll grow there. The most beautiful forest you can do, and we have the environmental scientists on our team to do that. And he specialises in mine rejuvenation, because there's about 30,000 mines out there that have been dug up the Aboriginal lands, and they just walked away and left a mess there. 30,000 of them things. So Byron does all that sort of rejuvenation of the wilderness areas in conjunction with our Aboriginal people, the rangers, and the Aboriginal lawmen, no more than any white man does anyway. So we want to be really, really straight and apologise in advance. We're not here for the older generations. Don't expect me to answer any of your questions. I say to our followers, take my videos out of the dark web or off the deep web, put them on your own Facebook, and everyone deals with you. We'll train you to do them. You become an ambassador or an influencer. Once you've got a certain number of people, we'll monetize it for you. Make it really worth your while. You'll be on at least 238,000 US a year, because we give you a PLN21 PTY limited company with a vested trust. You can put 21 children in there, equal shares, and yourself, and every year they'll get 285,000 US, which is 418,000 Australian. So that's it. Now look, we're in a bit of a, people have been waiting and waiting and waiting. Now here is a mind map. Right, it's my map. I don't know if you can see this. Alright, just have a little look there. You see we've got the arrows going everywhere. At the moment, we've had the marketing's in the wrong direction, wrong leadership team, website not finished, the VR concert's been held up, funding's been held up, business going the wrong direction, social media is not organised, we had the 2,000 at-risk children, and the target market's the wrong target market. So now we're turning all the arrows to move them in the direction of the vision to create a happy future for our children's children, from all walks of life without prejudice. And we do that through the rapid mass production of sustainable villages, sustainable cities in paradise. And it's just starting to rain, so I'm just going to have to cut it right here.